President Trump doubling down on his criticism of the Fed. This summer, the president told Joe Kernan that he wasn't thrilled with rate hikes. Here's what he said yesterday.
Well, I like to see low interest rates. The Fed is doing what they think is necessary, but I don't like what they're doing because we have inflation really checked and we have a lot of good things happening. So I will say this, we're normalizing money and that's good, but I think we don't have to go as fast.
President Trump said he has not spoken to Fed Chair Jay Powell about the central bank's rate hike plan and that he does respect the independence of the Federal Reserve. And yet here he is making some comments about what the Federal Reserve should and should not do.
I took that. I think that was tongue-in-cheek.
Dialing it back a bit, though, from past comments.
At least he said he respects the independence.
He said the right things. He says he hasn't spoken with him, but you don't think Jay Powell hears these headlines?
I think Jay Powell
has
clear
messaging.
Well, I don't know, in a less clear way than we've heard before, and we've moved past the past more overt statements. I mean, he actually went on as well to say, you know, I think we're having this great economic data, and I don't want that to be slowed down.
That's what I don't understand.
This was quite a nicely summarized, accurate point of view.
It was not out of left field, but to say that I don't want to get involved when you are saying. The president, when he speaks, no matter what, because of the weight of the office, when he speaks, it is going to have
involved.
Of course. But this president speaks very often and in very overt fashion, and I think this was less so than in the past.
Look, I don't think it's going to have any impact on Jay Powell.
No.
I don't think he's going to change based on this, but I do appreciate the theater watching it play out.
Yeah, listen, and there was a greatly posed question by Eamon Javers, and it led to a response. I just say I think the response was less
more
from
measured.
what Joe Kernan elicited from his interview, whatever that was 3 or 4 months ago.
I will give you, it had more asterisks around it.
A bit more balance.
More nuance.
You are going to continue to hear the president say that he doesn't like to see this. The Fed hasn't even altered its rate plan yet. It has not added additional hikes. All you've heard from Jay Powell at this point is the idea that we may see more down the road potentially.
That's true. And yet right now the markets are having a tantrum because of rising rates.
Simply because he's raised the prospect of raising rates faster than the market has anticipated.
And simply because the 10-year has probably gone up to where it should have been for a long time now, and we're digesting it.
My interest in all of this is just the idea. It's hard to make the case that this is the strongest economy, things are going wonderfully, and the Fed should never raise rates. Now, I know Cramer has a much more nuanced view of this, that things are not as great in some pockets as you might anticipate, and higher rates do have an impact on things like home sales and auto sales and other areas. I also think that the tariffs play a big role in this. That's why you hear from companies like a PPG or others.
Right.
So to say that you don't want anything slowing it down, well, we're already potentially slowing it down with the tariffs. And that's an argument.
Sure.
If you want to look at the economy, it's hard to say this is going wonderfully and we shouldn't raise rates. I think it's fair to raise the point that maybe the economy's not going as well as we think, and there are these other factors at play. But I think it's a hard line to walk to say this is the greatest economy and there's nothing wrong with it and we shouldn't be raising rates.
But you got to wonder, you hear from PPG, you hear from Procter & Gamble, you hear from Pepsi about rising input costs, which are slowing things down theoretically. And then you wonder, should the Fed also step on the brakes with a rate hike?
Right.
And I think that there's maybe more question about how many rate hikes in 2019. And there is even a question about a rate hike in December. We were talking to Julian Emanuel, BTIG, the other night. He said December may not be on the table. I mean, it's priced in terms of Fed funds futures, but it's not priced in because we don't know how this earnings season is going to go.